Well, howdy everybody, hope you're all doing great today. What are we talking about? We're talking about why we hit those plateaus in our playing. It's always discouraging when it happens, and most importantly, what can we do to kind of get out of those? So I was kind of thinking about this, and I thought of some reasons why I think it could lead to hitting those plateaus, and just kind of ways to get around it, or if you happen to get into one of those situations, ways to get out of it. So not really tabs for this. You can check out my free guitar course if you like. That's linked down below. Also, real quick, I want to throw this in here. If you have any suggestions, please, by all means, leave them in the comments section. These videos are just strictly meant to help guitar players. So if you have ideas that I didn't think of, by all means, leave a comment down below. And the tones, the amazing guys at Vola are letting me borrow this USA Oz that I fell in love with at Winter NAMM, and it just got here and I couldn't wait to play it. And that is going into my Axe Effects today, and we're just gonna kind of roll with it. All right, now number one is, might kind of sound strange at first, but hear me out on it a little bit. And that is what I'm going to call practice does not make perfect. Now, just because you practice something doesn't mean necessarily that, you can work on something and be playing it the wrong way and get really good at playing it, incorrectly or wrong. I know there's no wrong way to play guitar, but there are things that can make you better, and certain ways of practicing stuff will plateau your playing much quicker. One of the big things, for example, if you are interested in more like shred guitar stuff, for example, so where you're kind of noodling around, something like that, I'm not trying to play fast right now, but, whatever it might be, if you're kind of interested in that vein of playing guitar, one of the big things you really need to be able to do, unless you have giant Paul Gilbert-sized hands, is you've got to get used to playing with your thumb in the back of the neck. Now, the reason why I say this could plateau your playing, because if you're used to playing this, I ran into this a lot as a teacher. People suddenly had a hard time making very simple stretches, like 4, 5, 7 on the D string, They were like, I can't reach that. I'm like, look at your thumb. And they're like, what about it? And I'm like, drop it to the middle of the neck. And suddenly, the trick is the lower you have your thumb, the more you can actually stretch your hand out and reach. So if you're practicing, this lick, maybe you're doing the Paul Gilbert lick, and you want to move it, but if you're practicing it like this, you can practice it forever and probably eventually get it down that way. But I'm gonna bet that you're not gonna be able to go 5, 7, 9 with your thumb over the neck. So that's kind of how you'll hit a plateau. You're like, God, I can't reach those frets. How do I do it? So just because you're practicing something doesn't necessarily mean that we're practicing it in the best way possible. I think that's a good way to say it, the best way versus right or wrong. So if I drop my thumb though, like I can make that stretch all day easy. And so on. So that's the first one. Just make sure that you correct things like posture and just really evaluate how you're playing stuff and see if it's the most, efficient way or just the most practical way of playing it. Now the next one is you might just be focused too much on one area of your playing. Playing guitar is a huge multitude of different areas that makes up a guitar player. One of the best things that I ever did as a guitar player is became a guitar teacher, because it's kind of going back to number one, it allowed me to really evaluate. My cat just walked in here. Hi. What? Tell everybody bye. Okay. But anyways, so like I said, when I became a teacher, it made me evaluate a lot of the different areas of my own playing that I didn't really pay attention to, just hand placement, finger placement, stuff like that. And I realized like, oh, I have a lot of areas to work on. I mean, I've always known that. I'm not some like amazing guitar player, but it really made me take another step back. And teaching was such a great way to do it. Working on your guitar playing, I mean, working on your tone, working on the phrasing in your hand. There's so many different areas. Don't just think that it's a matter of playing chords or playing, scales and stuff like that. If you are kind of like stuck, maybe you are in like that scale mode where you want to just practice scales and practice technique, and you feel like you've hit a plateau, shift gears, work on phrasing, work on playing, some real nice. Work on some phrasing ideas, work on lots of stuff. So there's a lot of different areas to work on versus just, really focus on what you're playing and take a step back and be like, what else could I be working on? You know, and that can really get you out of that plateau, because then you start blending things together, and trust me, it's a great deal. So the next one is, are you getting any better? How can we tell if we're getting any better? You know, what is good? What is bad on guitar? You know, there's all these things that are just kind of very opinion-based topics, but I think that there are ways to tell if we're good. This is something I've talked about in another video, but I really believe documenting yourself as a guitar player, whether it's using a metronome to write down how many BPM you're playing at, you know, recording yourself playing guitar. I mean, I make YouTube videos, so I get to see my progress all the time as a guitar player. You can go back to my old videos from 2012, and you know, I look at those and I'm like, wow, you know, I'm so happy I started working on all these weak links that I had, and you know, my phrasing, my bending. I mean, I still have a long way to go, but I can see the progress. So make sure that you're documenting yourself, because it's so easy to feel like we're not getting any better as a guitar player. You know, we don't get to see the improvements that a weekly video will see, or a monthly video will see, stuff like that. So make sure that if you're really putting in the time and practicing, trust me, you are getting better. Make sure you find a way to document it. Luckily, now we have smartphones and stuff like that, so it's super, super easy. Just record a quick video, and I'm telling you, it's very motivating whenever you're like, you know what, I am playing Crazy Train better. I am playing that Van Halen lick better, you know? So definitely look into that. Now the next one could be if you're the kind of guy who, like me for many years, just kind of wung it. You know, I was just learning whatever, focusing on just playing and stuff like that. I never really had a plan set into motion. And I would hit those plateaus, and when you don't have a plan, it's kind of hard to, you know, get off of those plateaus and keep working on up that mountain of progress. So what I discovered was having a practice plan, having an idea of what I was going to be working on that day, versus just kind of sitting here freestyle noodling around, helped tremendously. And that's where, you know, it all ties together. I think we've talked about, can be put into a plan to where if you are just, you know, your phrasing is stuck, work on technique. Your technique is stuck, maybe teach a little bit. Maybe work on chords. You know, all these different areas. But having a plan, having a schedule, something like that, because, you know, time is a luxury. If you have time to practice, that is an absolute luxury, and it's nothing that's guaranteed. So make sure you have a plan. Make the most out of that time. And I'm telling you right now, if you hit those plateaus, this will this will either prevent them from happening as often, or if they are still happening, this will be a good way to kind of, you know, get out of them. So that's just kind of all I got to say about that. Alright guys, hope you found that video useful. Like I said before, make sure you list some of the stuff that maybe you've used in the past to help you get off those playing plateaus. And I'm going to bounce on out of here. I will be seeing you all later. Peace out, homies. Keep on rocking, and I'll see you later.